Many of us had been on the alert for anything odd from Hall, Hignett or Willwog since their return to school, so we reacted in time to lower our heads so that the jet of pale light flew just over us, hitting the wall and disappearing. Hignett and Willwog had reacted at almost the same moment. They had both been seated in the back row, so they had easy aim. Hignett's jet of light hit Erica, who was sitting on the other side of the room with Serena, Kylie, Holly, Anna, Cassandra, Matthew and Anton. Willwog's jet had hit James, who hadn't been quick enough to turn to see that Willwog had aimed at him. Peter and I leapt away from James as panic erupted from the rest of the students, particularly those who weren't fighters. In the next moment the door had crashed open and 3 more Hammerhearts had burst in. A 4th had done something in the doorway, sprung up an invisible barrier to seal us in, I had felt sure, then hurried off along the corridor. The 3 Hammerhearts that had invaded the room had lined up along the back wall, small devices that shot jets of thicky prison, poised. They had fired in unison. One had hit Ellie, who was completely without cover out the front of the room with Stephanie. Stephanie had screamed and tried to tear the white stuff spreading over Ellie's chest off her, only to have her hands swallowed in it and have it spread up her arms. One had hit Serena, who had just used her own solid outliner to free Erica, and the 3rd had narrowly missed Willwog and hit Simon, who had just freed James from his prison. I had the scene-leered crystal in my pocket, but I didn't have a solid outliner, so I had quickly sprung up an invisible shield around myself and Peter, then began moving us through the chaos towards the front of the room. It had been towards Hall, who was standing behind his desk. He had taken aim at us, but the crystal had been in my hand, and a moment later he had fallen out of sight. The 5 Hammerhearts in the room had overwhelmed the rest of the class for about 10 seconds before Peter and I had a chance to take charge. Nearly all of them had been trapped in thicky prison, a white spreading substance that immobilized everything it touched by then. I'd used the crystal to knock them all out in turn. The last one had tried to make a run for it, but been thwarted by the barrier his mate had erected. Peter had then freed the rest of the class from the thicky prison. They had all fallen about sobbing and crying and panicking. With the reduced noise in the room, I could hear commotion throughout the rest of the school and knew that the same assault had been launched on all the other classrooms. "Anyone got a spare solid outliner?" I had asked the young army members. "Use that thing to duplicate mine," Peter had suggested, putting his in my hand. I had never tried duplicating something before, but to my surprise, it had worked fine. I just had to hope it would work when I needed it to. I had then used my crystal to levitate the unconscious forms of Hall, Hignett, Willwog and the other 3 Hammerhearts into a line at the back of the room. The whole class was watching me now, and their thoughts, written on their faces, were simple. The same person who took charge in the last battle had saved the day again. Apparently they were waiting for me to tell them what to do, like the good little sheep they were. "You guys, all stay here," I had said. "Peter, James, keep watch over them all. Take down any Hammerhearts before they can get too far into the room if they try to come in, and make sure they don't wake up, although I doubt they will. I'm going out there." "What about us?" Katie had asked. "We have stuff too." "Same thing. Anyone with weapons, be ready to fight." I had hurried between the rows of desks and around the back towards the door, using the crystal to remove the invisible barrier as I went. Once out in the corridor, I had resealed it, so that not even the Hammerheart devices they used could affect it. That ought to keep them in, and anyone else out until I got back. Now, however, I had been in Hammerheart territory. It seemed that everyone had been trapped in their classrooms, and the only ones roaming the corridors were Hammerhearts. I had decided, on the spur of the moment, to attack this situation in a far different way to the previous battle, in a way I had never tried before but felt would work just as well. I had quickly made myself invisible and taken off up the corridor towards the Year 7 and 8 locker bay, which was the nearest door out into the yard, looking through the open doors of classrooms as I went, seeing nothing in any of them except Hammerhearts, no more than 3 to a room, loading packs of joined students into extender cases, backpacks, enchanted to fit anything of any size inside them while reducing the weight. There had been a few Hammerhearts hurrying around in the corridors, but I had dodged them, preferring not to alert anyone to my presence just yet. Into the locker bay I had run and through the doors into the schoolyard, looking around and again seeing nothing more enlightening than Hammerhearts running here and there with bags over their shoulders.